So we got about 75 minutes, I think was our original NTC schedule slot to go over 52 tweaks in 52 weeks to a better nonprofit website.
All right, everyone. My name is Dominique Hernandez. I build and manage WordPress websites for nonprofits. I'm the website administrator for a think tank called the Institute for Policy Studies, and I also consult for nonprofits building websites.
And my name is Chris Tuttle. I help nonprofits utilize digital more effectively to raise awareness, increase our constituent engagement, and ultimately to cultivate meaningful relationships that drive meaningful actions. Both of us, for a number of years, have worked on dozens and dozens of websites, if not hundreds and hundreds even. And just a small collection of some of the websites we've worked on over the recent years, a couple of these even together. And one of the things I think we wanted to set forth right here is that none of these websites are perfect. None of these websites have every one of the 52 tweaks we're going to recommend enabled. And that is because this is going to be an evolving process and there's a lot to do. And so we just want to put that up front. We're going to talk more about that, set some expectations in a minute.
So we wanted to ask y'all to fill out a poll in this intro section. And we want to talk about what the primary goal you have is for visitors to your website. That should pop up in the poll section. Is it to access resources, find support, make a gift, join a membership, get on your email list, watch a video, or something else entirely?
Okay, I see folks answering here. It looks like we got about 45% of folks voting, so we'll just give you a couple more seconds here. So what's your primary goal for visitors to your website?
And we recommend that it's really hard to pick one. Do your best.
Okay, you got 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. And the winning results are clearly to access resources, which should be displayed on your screen there. It looks like we have a close second by making a donation, of course. Something else. We would love to hear in the comments what all those something else were for those of you who voted something else.
Buy tickets. Okay, I hear that.
So, but yeah, purchase tickets, maybe like event tickets or even webinar or online training tickets.
Or theater tickets, getting people to take an advocacy action, hire a partner with you.
Have somebody volunteer, I see. Awesome. So these are all great. And these are all obviously very important and meaningful things that need to be done to support our organization's work and support our missions. Let me see if I can stop sharing that. Perfect, we should be back to our screen here. So that's what the point of today's conversation is really about, is to talk about all the things that we could be doing to improve our website so that we can create a better user experience and ensure that the reasons you want people to be there and the things you want them to do, from accessing resources to volunteering to making a donation or taking an advocacy action, that you're streamlining that process, cutting out the clutter and the junk that's going to prevent the constituent from taking the actions that either they want / we need them to take. And so we're going to talk about real quickly before we jump into these 52 tweaks, a couple considerations, because we know that we're not all exactly the same. So first and foremost, events are happening right now around the world, and they're going to have a dramatic effect on all of our lives, from the way that we're accessing content, the way that we're engaging in services and programs to nonprofits, the way that we support organizations, causes, issues that we care about. But one thing that's not changing is that the people that our organizations are serving, the services that our organizations provide, and the issues that we are all fighting for are not going away. People who have Parkinson's disease still need to have support groups and exercise classes to maintain health and stay healthy and live long lives. People who are parents of LGBTQ children still need to find resources and support so they can be the best advocates for their children's safety. People that need help in managing HIV or homelessness or housing struggles or job struggles or fighting ongoing racism and sexism in this country still have work to do. Those issues aren't going away. So with that, this presentation compiles 52 tweaks. There are plenty more. And we believe that because effective websites require intention and iterative processes or improvements, that these things are just as relevant now as they were 6 months ago and as they will be 6 months from now.
Right, and each of these tweaks should take about an hour to complete or just get it started. But again, like Chris said, everyone's different, right? So what takes Chris an hour could take me 30 minutes. It probably wouldn't be that way. Or it would likely take me 2 hours. It could take you 30 minutes. It's about an hour for each one. We also include real examples of really great and not so great use cases, but this is not about shaming. Again, many of the websites that I show as examples of not great are ones that I built and maintain to this day. Every single website can be improved, the ones that we manage and also the ones that you manage. And making one website improvement is better than making none at all. I think a guiding philosophy for both Chris and I through all of our work and through website work is that progress over perfection.
So we're gonna go quick. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
We're gonna go. See, we were going so quick, we went at the same time. We're gonna go quick, but you're gonna get these slides and recording. As I said, we'll email you the recording afterwards. The slides will be immediately available for you to download at the end of the session. Return anytime. We also have a few more things for you at the end of the session, so definitely stay tuned through the end for some free resources and more information. So here we go. Let's jump into these. And of course, I wanted to say this earlier, and I'm just gonna say it now because I was telling Dominique that I'm all about being real. And part of being real is that I have no doubt I made some mistake in here. There's a typo, there's a bad link, there's something in here. So if you see it, feel free to share it. We're human. It's gonna happen. So step one, easy, really simple. Something a lot of us have probably heard about or even thought about, and it may seem even too simple to worry about, but it's using Fav Icons on your website. So the Fav icon is the icon that you're gonna see up here in my little faux tabbed browser of my email and everything else open. And you can see over in that right-hand corner that there's a little Fav icon for TLC's logo, Transgender Law Center, the homepage that that tab was on. You can see a couple websites in the browser on the right here that I have saved in my browser in my bookmarks, and you can see how that Fav icon can display for different ones. You may have even noticed that websites can be saved as home icons or links from your home screen on your phone, Android or iPhone. And that's also going to pull a Fav icon from your website. If it doesn't have a properly sized Fav icon, it's actually going to pull a screenshot of the home page, like you'll see in the 2-second row versions for World Wildlife Fund and Listen. And as you'll also see in there, that's not necessarily a great screenshot. It's not very visual and a really small icon. So this is one of the reasons that it can be helpful to create customizable, identifiable icons like we've all gotten used to when we're looking for that email tab to go back to Gmail or something. And then finally, is some Fav icons are also used by some messaging platforms. And this varies by device in different platforms. Some will use the Fav icon, some will pull actually the header image, which we'll talk about a little bit later. It's a version of meta tag data. Some might even pull a screenshot of the web page. But if we can try to unify that brand experience across of these, we make it much easier for the user who maybe came to our website, the About page, to look up some information about us, but got distracted by the email or the Facebook update, and our tab has become secondary in their browser, or they're trying to find us in a quick message, or we're just trying to reinforce our brand and have another touch point with them. You can do that by going to favicon.io. It's a free tool that will help you create your Fav icons. Number 2, create an effective homepage title. So many websites default homepage titles when you install a theme, like on WordPress plugin, WordPress, Drupal, or Joomla, excuse me, or when you even set up new templates. They may start a contact form by creating a title that says contact us, or a homepage that says home or homepage. And so generally speaking, nobody's typing into search engines or other browsers your organization's name homepage. They're just typing in your organization's name. More likely, if they don't know of you yet, they're probably typing in keywords that have to do with your mission, with your impact and what you do. And so you can see a great example of World Wildlife Fund, also known as WWF, and clearly in their title, using the terminology that folks might be searching for, that is exactly what they do, endangered species conservation. So not only is this better for search engine optimization, so people can find our websites more easily and we come up ranked higher in search engine results, it's also about accessibility in that screen readers and other devices that are used by people with visual impairments may not understand which website you're on when they're reading out the title of a tab that simply says homepage. So if you can imagine I'm using a screen reader and I'm having my screen reader read the different tabs that are open on my browser, if each of them are named homepage, then how do I know what website or what organization's homepage that is? So we gave some examples here of how to be a little bit more clear about that. Next up, number 3, create an effective page description. So page descriptions, basically are about 150 words or so, give or take, that are going to show up in search engine results when somebody is searching for your page and they use the keywords in their search match the keywords in your page description. So using the keywords that we think our constituents might be using to find resources is going to be incredibly helpful to ensuring people find us, even if those keywords are not part of our name or primary mission that appears in a homepage title. So as an example I gave here on the right, we can see if I search for PFLAG, I'm going to see a link to PFLAG. In fact, it's their national website. I can see that PFLAG is bolded in their page description text because it's showing me the keyword that was searched. But if I search for organizations that are for friends of LGBTQ people, maybe I don't know who PFLAG is, and I'm looking for an organization for help, that's not going to be part of their title, so it's not in their homepage title, but it is going to be in their about page text. And so it's going to pull from that page description, the keywords are highlighted, and again, it gets me right to their website, and this showed up actually as a first result for search. Another example, looking for parents of LGBTQ youth, I find their Loving Families program, finding those keywords that were used again on that site. So play around on Google, figure out what people are searching for or might be using, and learn how to use those in an effective page description that's going to help people find you, and also make it really clear why they should click the link when they see your listing in that search result.
So I'm going to talk about the next couple of tweaks, but first I want to acknowledge that we've gotten a couple of questions. Tara asked how much time per day we recommend in tackling this list, 1 per week, 1 hour a week. That's our idea, but of course, however much time you can set aside for it and whatever works with your schedule is best. And then another question that I actually really want Chris's opinion on is how many people in general find site visitors through organic search versus with organic and paid social media? My answer would be that that's very specific to an organization and hard to say an overall stat on. But Chris, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's specific to an organization. It's really specific to their strategy. If you're a content-heavy website and with a lot of resources and information that people might be searching and finding, then you're going to have a better search optimization strategy than others. If you're a small organization that has a brochure website where a small group of community members have select access to access resources, make an appointment or something, then you might not rely on search and you're going to see different results. But I would say that most general organizations I've worked with of varying types and sizes usually see about anywhere between 30 and 60% of their web traffic come from search, organic search. And a lot of websites are seeing about roughly between 10 and 40% of their traffic, again, depending on your strategy, from social media. So social media is a huge driver, but usually it's not more than 1/3 of web traffic that I see on most major organizations, simply because they have a multi-tiered approach to have a search strategy, a paid search strategy, plus organic search, as well as a paid and organic social media strategy. To your first, what was the first question we had there real quick? Oh,
it was about how much time to dedicate each week.
Let's also say real quick, just because I want to make it clear about like one we just gave an example with page descriptions. When most of these we're suggesting do it on the most important or the like top 5 or 10 pages that are being used on your website. It's going to be unrealistic that you're going to spend 1 hour a week going through every single web page on your website and making the perfect page description. Let's focus on the pages that are being accessed the most or need to be accessed the most. Fix those.
That
okay,
sounds
Dominic.
awesome. Yeah, that also leads right into tweak 4, which is for all those pages you cannot get to, you can create default Open Graph data tags for your site. So OG or Open Graph data controls the title, image, and page description metadata that's used by both search engines and social networks. You should set this for important pages that you're working on. I work for this organization. Sarah Gertler is our social media manager, and this article specifically had this image and data attached. But there are times that folks are going to share a page from your site where this might not be set, and you can set backups or defaults in the back end of the system. In WordPress specifically, you can do this very easily with the Yoast plugin. That would be far less than an hour in time. All right, and tweak number 5 is to use image descriptions. So I'm seeing that my audio is kind of difficult to hear. Is this a little bit better? Great. Image descriptions are brief text that provide context to folks who might be visually impaired, might be using a screen reader, and other people too. You really never know how any individual person is accessing the content on your site. They're necessary for organization websites and email, and you'll also see them increasingly common on social media. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram all have features for this, and even when social media platforms don't have a feature for it, a lot of folks choose to do it in the caption of the image. So we recommend that you check your 10 most visited web pages and ensure that you're using image descriptions there. And some guidelines around that is to not use the image title, definitely use the alt text feature. And when you're writing these, you should be briefly describing the picture as you would someone sitting next to you who couldn't see it. You should name people, places, and things with descriptors. If any text appears, you should include that. If you're working with an infographic or something, if the image links to another website, you should also describe that. And don't worry about it for decorative images that are not needed for context. A good example here is a big hero image at the top of a page. That's decorative. It has a title on top of it usually that's telling folks what the page is about. You don't need a description for that. We're going to try to play for you, and we are not 100% sure if the audio on this will work. We're going to try to play this screen reader test that will show you what images sound like with and without the alt attributes attached. So Chris, give it a play. Let's see if this will work. If not, we definitely welcome you to access it later with slides. I don't think it's playing.
Okay, you can't hear it. So you can, so folks,
yeah, I can't hear
the slides, you can click the link here and go to YouTube. What it's doing is it's actually going through with the screen reader and it's reading each of the pieces of text, and then it's reading the alt text that's been put with each image. And so you'll get a clear example of what it might be like for somebody who's just hearing how a web page reads when images have no alt text or really bad alt text. And of course, what it's like with great alt text.
It's really informative, and I do recommend you do it. Tip number 6 is to install the Facebook pixel on your website. The Facebook pixel is a little bit of code that just plants a pixel. It's invisible. No one will see it. A pixel is very tiny. It embeds it on your web page, and it collects data on your visitors, and it will help you build audiences for future ads that you might run. It will help you track conversions from Facebook ads that you might run. It'll help you optimize those ads. And in a way that I think is very cool, it will help you remarket on Facebook to folks who've already taken some kind of action on your website. So even if you're not using Facebook ads or boosted posts yet, setting up now will help when you do someday.
There we go.
All right, this tip is really simple. This tip should hopefully take less than an hour for everyone. Use a high resolution logo. A logo is a really important part of your branding. A logo is the first thing people see when they come onto your website. And when it's pixely and gross, and I think we've all seen these, it just gives a bad impression. And I think it leaves a poor taste in people's mouth. And I've worked with a lot of organizations, including ones that I still work at sometimes, that don't have that file on hand. It was created by someone, 3 staff generations ago at the organization. It's just not there. I would say for these, it's worth it to hire a graphic designer if you don't have that file on hand and just pay them for a couple of hours of recreating that logo for you. You're going to need it in a lot of places. All right, so streamlining and simplifying those donation forms. You can keep things way simple on your donation form. You should remove any distractions, remove any secondary navigation or calls to action. You've already got people on the action you want them to take, and you don't want to drive them away from that. They've crossed the barrier to entry and clicked the donate button. You just want to keep them really focused on that task. So remove any unnecessary fields. focus on a mobile user experience as well. There are several of the platforms now that offer donation forms that are really good out of the box on mobile. I would definitely investigate those. Make it easy to find, and use an instant error notification. And what that means is if folks are filling out a field, instead of having, if there's a problem with that field, with the validation of it, when they click submit, it's so annoying when you get that message back that says, this field is wrong. You can instead have code in that field that tells you as you're typing what's wrong with it, so that when folks click submit, it's a seamless experience.
Yeah, my favorite thing in the world to do is to fill out a really long form on my mobile phone and get to the bottom and get an error message, and then have to slowly scroll back up to figure out what field messed up. So
yeah, that is firmly the worst experience.
That last one is really important. And so along with that is also ensuring that our donation forms are really easy to use, and including trust seals on the payment forms. So our donation forms, event registration that include financial asks, other pay for product or resource on your website. So there's been a lot of studies around this over the years. And so we've sourced one from the Beyond Best Practices Donation Form Optimization that clearly shows here a few different examples of using trust seals, seals like the VeriSign Secured or Secured Trust, on your donation or other payment processing forms, where on your desktop, they actually work best when they're above the fold. So before the user will scroll past what they see when they first load that donation form. However, on a mobile phone where the form is going to be really long, they actually work best when they're closer to the financial payment fields. So that can actually even be right below, like we see here in this example from American Diabetes Association. You can see from this resource in the report, excuse me, that they did a bunch of different trials and studies and found different things worked better in different ways. But this was also a couple years ago. And so I think this is one of those really great opportunities to test this yourself. If you're not using this yet, try it. Add an image for one of the trust seals that you can do based on your access and on your website, and see if you see any improvements in completion rates over time. With that, number 10, we can customize donation form giving levels. So many donation forms, when originally set up, are using these like default fields of $25 and $50 and $75 or $100, $150, $250, $500. I probably have named most of your donation forms right now in that moment. And so there's a couple things we can do. One is we can consider, are there other ways we can ask for money based on the need or the ability to serve a certain way. Obviously, there are, for fundraisers in the room, there are some limitations to what you can say here. You don't want to make it a restricted gift by being too specific to how the money's going to be used, but there are definitely ways that you can easily suggest what it could pay for or could buy that we've seen through multiple studies and different organizations that work in increasing your average gift, in increasing your overall donations, and possibly increasing the trust an organization is going to have with you or connection to your mission, because they have a better understanding of how your money gets spent, just in the way that you fundraise. Another example that was done from a Jewish organization on the right, this was a specific time of the year campaign, and some of these custom giving levels were specific to the Jewish faith. But with this, we saw like a 26.8% increase year over year in online gifts, with a accounting for the difference in gifts across all giving levels. And you can clearly see here, I think, in this first example, something we could all learn from, which is so many of us ask for a $10, $15, or $25 low-level gift on our donation form. Meanwhile, our donation forms are often producing a $40, $50, $60, or $70 average gift. So let's not undersell or undercut our services, and consider how we can create giving levels that better match the experience of our donors. So next up, number 11, customize your 404 error page. The dreaded 404 error page. It's a dead end. It's what happens when somebody goes to a web page on your website that no longer exists. A resource that they found in this presentation 2 years from now, if you happen to be watching this 2 years from now, that links somewhere that no longer exists, and they're going to get this 404 error message. And for some of us techies, sure, we instantly know what that means. For a lot of people, this is meaningless. And worse yet, it's just not helpful. And we've lost the potential for somebody who is coming to our website to find the resource, service, or support that they were looking for and needed. So some things we can do is, one, have a friendly message that's human and talk to people. Maybe be a little funny about it instead of a large 404 error. We can use search options to help people find that content that moved or is missing. We can ask them to contact us and have a one-on-one conversation with them. We can give them a list of our top content. We can ask them to do something else with us, like subscribe to our email so that we can let them know about new resources we're going to be producing in the future. All of those, of course, are going to be better than losing that web visitor. Number 12 is we can create redirects. Dominique, do you want to take this one?
I do. So you can create redirects for those 404 errors that Chris just talked about, and depending on your CMS and host, you can use different tools to do that. In WordPress, I think the plugin that Chris and I both use pretty religiously is Redirect It or Redirection. They're the same thing. It's very easy. It's very simple. It will also track the 404s for you. Your host might track those 404s for you. Chris notes here that Google Search Console used to provide a full report on all 404 errors, but the latest version only shows the critical ones within the last month, and they actually are all important. There are also various broken link checkers you can set up that are both on and off your site, but keep an eye on those. And definitely set up one of those services so that you know what's out there and that you're directing folks to the right content. All right, and make your top confirmation pages engage. I love this one. So all of the people who take an action on your website will see a confirmation, and this is a great place to do more than thank them. Also think about their mindset. They've already done something. They're already primed into action, right? They're ready to do more. They're in the place where they want to keep going. And the things you can consider here are a custom message that might be related to the action just taken, like this one, a top video to watch on your site that might be like an identity video, any one of your top pieces of content, resources, reports, blog posts, articles. Keep that current, keep that fresh. A follow or share on social is a great idea here. A survey to learn more about them. Surveys are amazing. Surveys help you segment people in the future. You learn more about them. You get to market to what folks' specific interests are in your organization, which is so effective. And making sure that you keep a link to donate in the footer. And in a very similar vein, the website acknowledgement email is a perfect place to do all of this. Automated emails sent by websites are more likely to be opened by users than any other email you send. As Chris often says, people love to read about something they just did. We don't know why, but they do. They will open that email. So all of the same considerations as the previous slide, all of those same things are also applicable here. What do you want folks to do when they're already in a giving and loving mood to your organization? And improving your calls to action. So there's data that shows that targeted calls to action convert 42% more visitors into leads than untargeted CPAs. And what does that mean exactly? It means that the default languages that we see specifically on buttons, right? Usually buttons, sometimes links, all of the time, like read more and submit, are boring. People see them all the time, and they just don't land as well in the brain. They don't stand out, and it's easy to gloss over them. So when you make things really, people want to be told what to do. We're shown that over and over in marketing. So when you're really specific with folks and you say, register for 52 tweaks in 52 weeks, read more articles, sign up for our newsletter, those perform better than just read more, sign up, share on social media, you tweet this button over just a share on social media. Tell people exactly what you want them to do. And make it easier for them to take that action.
I have to jump in and also say, please don't ever say read more. It's one of my pet peeves. On a website, read more means nothing. Click here means nothing to search engine optimization, and it means nothing to people who are using screen readers and therefore can't access the content visually. So you imagine being talked to by a computer telling you what's behind a link, and you get a URL and its title is read more, and it's like, well, read more of what? Depending on where that button was, whether or not it's one of 10 read mores or submit buttons or form options on a page, that could become really confusing. So not only is it better for marketing and can be more effective in getting people to click, as we saw through the Smart CTA study by HubSpot, it's also an accessibility issue and a personal pet peeve, and that's the biggest reason you should do it.
My personal pet peeve is the click here. I've been cautioning people against click here for years. I'm not a content person, I'm a developer, but when I see click here in my client's content, I take it out. I just fix it. We also recommend Tweak number 16, put a call to action in your footer. People look at your footer. They look for a lot down there, actually. And if you can, embed the form directly. This is a screenshot from Trans Law Center websites, which is one of those websites that Chris and I have worked on together. And they put a subscribe form right in the footer that's just super simple. First, last, and email. It's pretty streamlined with the design. And if the embedding is not possible, just make sure you have the subscribe and a little bit of text about what they're going to receive, and then not a submit. I'll go back and change that, Chris, and make it more interesting. But then a subscribe to our newsletter button.
As we said, we got to fix things too. We got to fix things too.
And also, this is another one that I think is super simple and that we forget about all the time, is auditing the staff page. A lot of clients I work with, when I get their content, they have the staff page and they're like, oh, but I have 9 changes to this page to make because I haven't done them in 2 years. So at least once a year, hopefully more often, give a check over that staff page, make sure that everyone's on there, actually still works there. And a real fear I have here that is functional is about folks who have emails attached to this when that email address is no longer being monitored. So if folks if other people are trying to email that person and no one's seeing it, what are you missing when you're not seeing those emails?
So Christina in the chat room says, we saved the staff page by getting rid of it, or the staff page problem. And it's funny because I was actually going to make a joke that I know an organization that also just got rid of it. And I personally don't recommend that. I think our staff are our best ambassadors. Nobody can speak better to our work and the impact we're making than our staff and maybe our constituents. But the staff are there every day and in the work. And so at least when I'm looking at an organization, I really like to know who's behind it, who's working there. And I personally, I'm not so sure when I see a website that doesn't list who actually is there. But that's me. That's me looking for that human connection, probably. So let's go on to 18.
Tara also asked, just before we move on, if we were using a special plugin for that footer CTA. We are not. I built that website. That is an every action form that I did write some custom code for to fit it into that box. It was not a lot of custom code. Took less than an hour if you needed a developer's time for it.
Yeah, there's also, if you're using like WordPress and you look at my site, tuttle.co, I think I have a form in my footer as well that's using WP plugin, MC plugin, MailChimp's plugin. They make a quick, easy to embed form that you can put on any website. Okay, moving us along for time here. So we did audit. And is this mine? This is mine. Nope, this is yours.
This is mine? All right, give me 1 second. I had a computer beeping. All right, update your Wikipedia page. Your organization's Wikipedia page is often displayed in Google search results. It's along the right side, it's a bar. I click on these all the time, I think, without realizing when I'm researching things. And this is Chris's idea for a tweak, but once he put it out there, I realized how common it really is. So when you validate important information and provide quick links to your website and social accounts, you're doing a good service for folks who are just searching for your organization name, and make sure it's up to date.
And so another one going along with that, in fact, we're gonna have a few Google related ones here back to back. So number 2, that's gonna show up in search engine optimized, search engine results, is going to be your Google business listing. So this is what comes up when you search Google Maps for a business name or a nearby restaurant. All that information is pulled from your Google business listing. And so if you've ever searched yourself in Maps, you may see if you're not already an administrator for your Google business listing, you're going to see an option that's like take control, or actually I think I have it here in the screenshot. Manage this listing, that's what it is. If you already have access, then you can log in via your Google account and administer the Google listing page at any time. If your organization has a Wikipedia page, it will usually show up first in Google search results on the right-hand side of the search. If you have a business listing, it'll show up below the Wikipedia listing, or instead of if there isn't a Wikipedia listing for your organization. So actually, while I was doing this example, I was reminded again how important this is, because I thought PFLAG was a perfect example here. In the PFLAG search, I just searched for PFLAG's name, and in the Wikipedia listing that appeared first, we get a link to PFLAG, the national organization. But because I'm logged into Google and Google knows where I am on my browser, they show me the local PFLAG chapter offices in the Google business listing. So not only is this just great in general to have for folks who are searching for you and want quick access to your phone number or address or even directions to get there or your social media reviews and links. It's also really great for those of you who have multiple offices or chapters around the country to ensure that people are able to connect both with national and the local organization. Number 20, also in Google, is turn on review Google Analytics demographics. So most of us have Google Analytics set up already to manage and track metrics on user behavior on our websites. It's free. It's a bit of snippet code that you put in your websites and your website pages get tracked and you go to your analytics and you see all this beautiful data and you wonder what it means. Well, one of the pieces of data in there under audience demographics and overview is these demographics around age and gender. And these are pulled from associated YouTube accounts. They're of course anonymous, so you can't tell who they're about. And they're also not going to be about all of your users, your web users. You can clearly see here in this example, this is only about 28% of our web users. But it does give us an understanding of some of the folks who are accessing our site, possibly representative of the larger majority. But I can also then now create demographic searches based on this, and I can look into the age group for 25 to 34 and see what web pages are they accessing the most, which might be different than the 55 to 64 age group, helping us understand how to better market content to different audiences based on demographics, or what content is more important for us to create to either reach or serve an age group that we may not be reaching well enough. So the task here is go turn it on, because chances are if you aren't actively using your analytics, you probably have never turned it on. And if you haven't turned it on, it's not collecting any demographic data. So if you haven't turned it on, go turn it on. It'll take 5 minutes and come back next year and do this tweak again next year. If you've already done this and turned it on in the past, go take a look, see who your audiences are and compare it to your social media insights audiences and see if they overlap or are similar to the people who are accessing your social media accounts like Facebook and Twitter. Number 21, replace Google Analytics website code with Google Tag Manager. So Google Tag Manager is the future-proof current version of code for embedding on your website to track all types of analytics, including Google Analytics, as well as other things like Facebook pixels, which you may have heard about when using Facebook on your Facebook page or creating a Facebook event. Facebook pixels, like Google Analytics, is code that you can embed on your web page. And now we can track people from Facebook who came to our website from a post, an event, or an ad. And we can see their behavior on our website based on that Facebook pixel code. The reason that Google Tag Manager is better than Google Analytics code is because Google Analytics code had to be updated every few years when the code had to change. And if you needed to customize that code to track something like a PDF download, which is not tracked by default in Google Analytics, then you would actually have to go manually edit the code and know how to go fix that on the back end of your website. Now, some of us are Dominique and we're really techie. Some of us are Chris Tuttle and I forgot most of my techie back-end stuff 5 years ago. And so I wanted to make it much more easier. And that's where Google Analytics Tag Manager, comes into play. So you embed the Tag Manager code, replaces Google Analytics. You set up Tag Manager to track Google Analytics and other marketing codes that you may be utilizing. Another Google one, number 22, configure Google Tag Manager to track PDF downloads. So you'll see this is a different tweak. And that's because setting up Google Tag Manager is going to take about an hour. And that is if you're already familiar with Google Tag Manager and how that stuff works. It might actually, of course, take a little bit longer if you don't know how to use and embed tag coding or metacode on your website. It may take you less than an hour if you're emailing your web manager and saying, do this for me. So whatever you need to do, that's one tweak. Tweak 2 is now go fix Google Tag Manager to ensure that it's tracking PDF downloads and opens. So we've all seen that. We access a PDF on a website, it opens up a new tab, and now that PDF is in a tab, and we try to remember how to download it to our computer because we all want to save that PDF. That action of opening that PDF or downloading that PDF is not tracked automatically in Google Analytics. It can be tracked by creating an event that will track specific types of downloads or file opens, like a PDF file. That can also be tracked if you have image downloads or movie downloads or other document resources like Word documents or Excel. you can track any document type download or any action type on your website, like button clicks and other things. All of that's easily configurable in Google Tag Manager. You'll notice here, I'm giving you some links in the bottom left-hand corner so that you can go see instructions on how to do this, because I know that this might be new to some folks. So tweak number 23, another week, another tweak to make on Google Tag Manager. There's a lot of things that you can track, like types of documents that are downloaded. One of mine that's really a favorite, and again, not defaulted in Google Analytics, is called page scroll. And page scroll is the percentage of a web page that the user scrolls through. 25%, 50%, 75, or 100% are common page scroll metrics. Page scroll can help you understand, especially with long form content, it'll help you understand interest that a user has in the page. Often we'll look at bounce rate as a measure of interest, or sometimes secondary click if they go to another web page. But there are other factors involved in those. Sometimes the bounce rate's gonna be high because I got to the page and I got the information I needed. And if we have a long form page of content, maybe like frequently asked questions, how do we even know where they're going into that page to access the information they needed? If it's a blog post, did they read it all? Page scroll will help us understand that. We can configure that in about an hour and track it using Tag Manager. Number 24, automate Google Analytics reporting. This is a pretty easy one, but basically any dashboard or report that you already have access to in Google Analytics, either already provided by the system or that you've customized and created, you can have emailed to you automatically. At the top of those reports, there's usually a little org dashboard. This is actually a custom dashboard I started making. But you'll see a little share, email, and export option. And then if you click email, you'll see a pop-up like this. You can have it set to email to you or to a distribution list for your entire organization staff or department heads, whoever it needs to be. Title the subject, choose PDF, Excel, or another type of report you want them to get, the frequency, and for how long. You can only do this for up to like 12 months with Google, so you also want to set a reminder in your own calendar to come up and update this next year. Tweak number 25, create a Google Analytics custom alert. So Google Analytics tracks all this amazing stuff, but most of us aren't really going in there on a regular basis and looking at it. Hopefully we're looking at it at least monthly, measuring what's working, what's not, but I also know that that's hard for a lot of us to keep up with and do. So one of the things we can also do to ensure that we keep up with what's happening, in addition to like emailing us a monthly report, is we can set up custom alerts to let us know when something significant happens on our website, maybe an increase in web visits or a sudden decrease in the number of donations. And this will send you an email as you request it on the day immediately, or a summary digest weekly, when this alert needs to be triggered. And so I gave some suggestions on how this could be used as well. And finally, number 26, I think this is the last of mine, is Google Analytics Chrome extension. So if you have the Chrome extension, if Chrome is your browser of choice, or even if you're just using it on occasion to test website work like this, the Chrome extension is free for Google Analytics, and it allows you to actually see Google data, primary Google data, like we see here in the screenshot. And this appears when you go to your own website or a website that you have access to Google Analytics for. And you'll see this at the top of the screen. In addition to getting this like real-time information, and you can change the dates, usually it's set automatically to the last 7 days. In addition to changing the information, you can also get a quick link to your analytics so you can go see what's happening. Why did we suddenly get a peak at the end of the month, or why did bounce rates increase? You'll also be able to go through and see on the page, every link will have a percentage graph number over the percentage of additional clicks on that page that link got. So you'll be able to see that 10% of people clicked the secondary main item, the menu item, 5% of people clicked the hero image, and so forth, helping you understand user behavior on your website. Dominique, back over to you.
So on the Google train still, but a little bit out of Analytics and Tag Manager, is running a tool called Google PageSpeed Insights. And this is one of the examples I was talking about when I said we are going to put our own things we still need to tweak up here. This is a website I run. It's called Otherword. And what PageSpeed Insight does is you just plug a website in, any website you want, doesn't even have to be in your own, and Google gives you a score of how fast this website loads. And page load speed is important for a lot of reasons. The two reasons I really like to highlight for page load speed is SEO as well as accessibility. SEO, Google is using PageSpeed more and more and more for SEO. And as far as accessibility, you've got folks on lower data connections. You've got folks using mobile phones all the time. Having a website that developers call that's really expensive to load and takes a lot of resources isn't great. So you get this score, which is kind of meaningless in and of itself. But what I love about the tool is that it gives you, and this is only one example, it gives you all of these, they call them opportunities, how positive of them, things you can fix and ways to make this score better. And then what they also do, which I really love, is they've sensed here that I'm using a WordPress website, and they're telling me specifically on a WordPress website what I can do to make this particular fix to these images. So running the tool is pretty quick to getting that score. A big project for me at work last year was calendaring out these improvements that you can definitely chunk out into hour bits of time. All right, another Google tool that we really like, Tweak 28, is using Google's AMP, or Accelerated Mobile Pages project, to help your speed on mobile. So this is a framework that you can install. It's code that goes around your content that helps load web pages in less than 1 second and uses 10 times less data than regular web pages. So everything I just said about page load speed still applies. And you've probably seen this when you're Googling a current news item or a topic. If there are news stories that pop up on mobile, they often have that little lightning bolt next to them. And then when you click on them, you know that you're in a Google AMP piece because the URL at the top is still Google. I can get to the New York Times from this. Oh, I searched coronavirus, how applicable and appropriate still. You can get to the regular article from here to the content on their site, but it makes things super, super quick for people who just want to read it. All right, and testing and acquisition pop-ups. Chris and I have lots of feelings about these. We are pro acquisition pop-ups overall that are deployed strategically and thoughtfully. So pop-ups and slide-ins and other acquisition tools, they're really, really good list building tools, but you do have to use them strategically. I would say you focus on implementing them on only key pages of the site. The home page is a good idea. Your about page might be a good idea. One of your top pieces of content might be a good idea. I would also, so when I implement these, my rules around them are I always cookie them for 30 days. So folks who come to the site will only get them once every 30 days they visit. I will never do a full takeover of the page that like wipes out the rest of the page and only shows you the pop-up. I will never hide the X so that people can't click out of it. Those are some of my rules that I use. Chris, do you have any others or any other guidance there?
I think I think the big thing here is we don't want to be spammy and intrusive and annoying. We want to make the donor the hero. We want to get supporters for our calls and gain support and for the issue. So I think it's like everything you just said, it's about figuring out how to be respectful. I personally love the delayed pop-up that happens either after a 50% scroll or a 5-10% wait. A lot of folks who actually already know where they're going on your website usually will go and click something within 5 to 10 seconds. And so the pop-up actually ends up showing for people who are hanging out a little bit longer and maybe reading around. So it doesn't get in the way of somebody who's just trying to get somewhere quickly. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. I also really love, I run websites that essentially function as news sites. So I love like an email acquisition pop-up that slides in from the side when you get to the bottom of the article. You finish the content and you can decide. It's totally, the guiding light here is just not being intrusive to your user's experience. And it's a tightrope. I'm seeing comments in the chat that people are really tired of them. And I think that's why you deploy them really strategically.
Yeah, and actually, and there's obviously some great comments in there because they're not for everybody. So let's just also remind ourselves that we are not the average user on our website. But I think that's the problem is like if they annoy you, then obviously they're going to annoy other people too. That said, the research shows it. The stats show they work. They work. The number of people who sign up. They increase donations during giving campaigns. They increase people who take advocacy actions that are really urgent and important. When used well and when used smartly. So let's move on then. Number 30.
Adding a call to action, even on your email unsubscribe page. So possibly against what you might think, but an unsubscribe from your email list is another engagement opportunity. Again, it's going to land folks on a confirmation page. We think a call to action to follow on social is a great choice for this page. It is kind of lower impact, and to me, a call to action to follow on social, it like falls lower on that this is hard for the user task than getting in someone's inbox. But use it, right? This opportunity is here. Folks don't, Chris put a really good example in here. It's another opportunity. Folks have engaged with you. It's a touch point.
It is. Next one.
All right. Social calls to action on your top content. So you can go into Google Analytics, and like we said a couple of times in this presentation about some of the tweaks that seem like they'll take longer than an hour, focus on whatever your top 10 pages are aside from your homepage. What do you want folks to be sharing out from those pages? And using whatever those facts are, you can use a share link generator to create linked content that will automatically draft a tweet or share a link on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter. So we've given you a sample tweet to test for when you might be looking at the deck later, or people from the future that are looking at the deck. But when you click on that link, it would pop up and say, and pop up a Twitter window with this if you're already logged in. If not, you've prompted to log in. And then it would show this, and you could tweet it right out. If you know that folks are on this content and you know that it's good content, keep it shared, keep it circulating. And email onboarding series. This one, we might have been cheating on this one with the hour, but I think a three-part email welcome series could at least be conceptualized and drafted within an hour for sure. You could do the thought mapping for it. So every new email subscriber you get is a possible lifetime supporter, and it is our job as communicators and marketers to work them up that ladder of engagement and get them there. And an email onboarding series is the best way to help introduce your organization's work, and ensure that we don't turn people off with immediate appeals and marketing. It's building the relationship over time. And we follow the guideline that the first email folks get, which for me is usually the autoresponder, should just be offering something. They've already given you something. They've given you their email address, and they've given you access to their inbox. So you want to give them something back. You want to give them a resource. You want to invite them to be part of a community, or give them a discount to your shop, or show them a cool identity video. And then the next email could be an opportunity to engage, right? And this is really relationship building. You're learning a little bit about them, and they're able to share a little bit with you. So a survey is a great idea here. We love surveys. I never stop loving surveys. Asking them to respond to a question, connect with you on social, or volunteer. And then when you've spent some time building that relationship, make the ask for a donation. And we really recommend Care2's email onboarding toolkit, which is an excellent resource to building an onboarding series.
So number 33, create a chatbot. So chatbots you may already be doing, but I suspect most of us aren't. A lot of organizations are still trying to figure this out, even though surveys have shown that many brands are planning to implement something in 2020. Basically, we've already seen that social media usage and web usage is shifting from social media networks to messenger apps, including the Facebook Messenger app, Instagram direct message, WhatsApp, and other services. And many of these are owned by Facebook and are going to be combined in the future. But in general, what's happening right now is we have the ability to pre-program chatbots with common answers to common questions, or intro welcomes that get folks to sign in or to subscribe to our email. Also, messenger apps are technically, like Facebook Messenger, it's technically a separate social network than Facebook itself. And messenger apps combined actually have more active users today than all the social networks do combined. So messenger apps are largely where a lot of communication is going for various reasons. And whether that's one-on-one communication or private group communication or person to brand or brand to person. And so when I contact a nonprofit asking for help through a messenger bot or through a messenger app, the frequency that org replies is going to say a lot about my organization and who we are and how accessible we are. And especially times like right now, when we might be having more folks reaching out to us than usual online, or looking for help, or just looking for resources. Bots can help quickly get people to the resources that are most commonly asked for, while allowing for a human to come in and answer the more sensitive, delicate questions that need a personal touch. There is a little app here, or a little how-to here of how you can set up a bot in 30 minutes. And I will say that you can actually, in about an hour, set up a really quick Facebook Messenger bot that simply answers a couple questions or even asks people to subscribe to your email. More complicated bots will, of course, take much more planning, editing, iteration, study, and testing. Number 34 is to automate meeting scheduling. So right now, a lot of us are having meetings online, and a lot of us are trying to figure out how to get our clients to be able to meet with us, or trying to figure out in general, day to day, how to make it easier for our constituents to schedule meetings with a certain person on staff, a program director, or maybe an intake counselor. So meeting scheduling that's automated utilizes either existing services like Google Calendar or Office 365 to do shared meeting calendars where people can see time available on your calendar, or a third-party tool like Appointment, Calendly, or Doodle, in which you can set yourself up to be available certain times. And so this actual one that I put for my example, just so you had a real one if you wanted to check it out, is actually from my website, and anybody can schedule a 15-minute call with me. You can click on a link. I think it's tuttle.link/let's chat. So it's also something easy that I can remember, and I can tell people when I'm having a meeting or list it on my website. And people can see that my calendar based on what I've told the app it's allowed to share as my availability. Number 35 is actually going a step further and embedding a calendar invite in your website. And so you can embed an entire Google Calendar, or you can just embed a specific calendar event in your website. And when you schedule, when you embed calendars and Google Calendars in your website, one, you give folks a visual calendar that they can interact with. It's also a way that that embedded calendar can be managed by somebody in the organization who has direct access to that specific calendar that was created for the website, because usually it's not your personal user calendar, it's another one that you created. And that way, whoever manages the calendar doesn't have to know how to access your website or edit your website or update HTML. They can go right into the calendar, change or add an event. Likewise with events that you put on your website that people can RSVP to, or they can add to their calendar, you now also have a registration with them via a calendar invite. So that calendar will have a list of all the participants where you'll be able to go email them a reminder before the actual event. So this is a really good tip for that, especially a big event that you may have in your organization, like a specific month or a specific giving day. Like even Giving Tuesday, you want to get all of your best supporters and your volunteers who are going to help you fundraise on Giving Tuesday. You want to give them a save the date, send them a Google Calendar appointment. It'll be really easy to remind them and keep them informed as you get closer to it. Number 36, Dominique.
All right, I love user journeys. I love user journeys. Sitting there and thinking about what users are doing on your site, why they're doing it, and what kind of profile they occupy. But that takes a lot longer than an hour. So our tweak number 36 is to optimize just the donor journey and think about what pages on your site a donor moves through when they're making a gift. And a common one is that they'll land on your home page and they might view your highlighted content, something that's in that top hero banner section, and then navigate over to your about page. And then they're convinced they've got it, they like you, and they'll move over to your donation page. So as you're thinking about folks moving through this journey, just go through these pages and optimize them. Think about, is everything on them current? Do any images need to be switched out to be more engaging, more exciting? Is there anything worth A/B testing? I'm spoiler alerting, something we're going to talk about later with A/B testing. So, and optimize each of these pages to make sure that you're bringing them to the next page, right? If you can envision this journey, how are you making sure that donors are walking it? You can also, for bonus points, configure it as a journey in Google Analytics to see where folks are dropping off and where you might be able to come in and course correct.
Next. There you go.
Yeah. And then tweak number 37 is to answer your most asked question. There is not an exact science to this. We did a lot of research to try to figure this out, but somewhere on your site, you should answer the most frequently asked question around your organization's topic area. And About Page seems like a great place for this. This information has a chance, if your site rates highly in SEO, to appear really prominently when people search that specific question. This example came up when I searched how many giant pandas are left in the wild. And World Wildlife Foundation has obviously optimized this page enormously, and this just came up right in my face, huge on Google. This is going to get a lot of click-throughs. It's answering directly the question people have just asked and gives them a little more context and information about it. So make sure that that information is there. and then refreshing your second most popular page. So we know the most popular page on your site is probably your homepage, and you probably spend a lot of time thinking about it and optimizing it. But what is that second most popular page? Give it a once over. Take an hour, read the copy, give it a refresh. Is there any information that's out of date on there? Does it need an edit? Does it need newer images to bring it up to date? And think about, is it just a wall of text? I think one thing that this example does, which is also from World Wildlife Foundation, is really plays to how people read information online. It's chunked and it's scannable. So you've got these two really clear headers of who we are and how we work. Those paragraphs that are under them, which I know we can't read, we can tell that they're really short. And then they've got some really clear, bright images to guide you to different areas of their site. I would bet money that they're also A/B testing those images to see which are performing best and which they should switch around into different spots. And it has a donation link in the footer. All right, this might be my favorite in the whole presentation. Performing a responsiveness review test. So I think something that we struggle with responsiveness is I don't have the devices to test this. You know, I'm not an iPhone user. I don't know what anything looks like on an iPhone. So if you hit Control or Command plus Shift plus I in either Chrome or Firefox, you can go through all of these preset devices. This is called developer tools. And all of these devices, it's going to show you how the site looks across these devices. Then you can also specifically plug in different screen sizes. I work with folks that use 2100 pixel wide monitors that I do not use. Sometimes my sites don't look good on those monitors, but I'd never know that unless I went in here and performed that check.
That's one of my favorites. Great one. And anybody can use that. That's free. It's just using Chrome browser.
Yeah.
Real quick before we get into the rest of these, we know we're running out of time. We're going to go quickly through the last few, share the free resources with you, and then we're going to answer the questions because I know we have a few in the chat room and the Q&A that we haven't gotten to. I'm not ignoring you. I see you. We will get to you at the end of the session. But for those who have to go sharp at 45 after, I want to make sure that we try to get through as many of these as possible. So use a thank you video. So H1 thank you on a confirmation page after somebody makes a donation. I think we've all seen it. H1 meaning header 1. It's that large thank you for your gift. Thank you for your donation. Thank you for your support. We all say it. We all do it. And then we have this confirmation page that largely tells the donor what they just did. Your gift of $35 was wonderful. It'll do this. And sometimes we let the journey for that donor end there. So like the email unsubscribe confirmation page, think of confirmation pages or the end of any touch point. Think of that as an opportunity to start 3 new ones. What would a donor want to see right after they've made a donation? Maybe share something else about what we're doing or some great work or impact we've made, or at minimum, a thank you video. It's a really easy way to personalize and humanize the work you're doing, even help folks understand the impact you're making by saying it to them in the video and having a group of people say thank you. It takes less than 60 seconds. You can record it on your phone and just make it personal. Number 41, increase web referrals from Instagram. So we talked about some social media referrals earlier, often making up about 30% of a web visit or website traffic from other outside sources. And a lot of that comes from Facebook, frankly. And part of that's because Instagram, while seeing a lot more activity than Facebook, especially an increase in new accounts, Instagram doesn't do links well. Links don't work and aren't clickable when you put them on a post. They're not clickable when you've seen them, when you put them in a comment. You've all probably seen this. Or maybe you've tried doing it and you just weren't sure why it wasn't working. So there are alternatives that you can do. The most popular one is to actually write the phrase or the hashtag link in bio. And that means the link for this post or this resource that we're promoting for this specific Instagram post can be found in our Instagram bio. And it's really useful, especially if you are updating your bio and changing it to the current link for the current post. But as soon as you do that, all the links for the previous post that also said link in bio no longer work. And so there's some other third-party tools that can be used now, as well as some customizations. I've given you 3 examples here, from APDA to World Wildlife Fund to AVP, the New York City Anti-Violence Project. APDA is using SkedLink, which is a social media management tool, and you can see that in the link, sked.link/APDA Parkinson's. And it goes to a web page that, because they manage their social media there, they enter a link when they schedule it, and it'll actually just update this web page. so that the link always has every post the Instagram stories or Instagram post have, and you can click right through to wherever those go, the resource of the event. World Wildlife Fund is just using a customized link on their website. You can build a mobile-friendly, mobile-responsive link on your website, and you can just have to update it yourself, either with standard resources or links to your most recent post. And then Anti-Violence Project is using a third option called Linktree. If you already have a social media management tool and you don't want to switch to one that has links in this, Linktree is a really great way just to go customize a page that can include specific links to common resources or pages you want people to go to. It's a great way to make it easier for folks to get to you, and I've already seen that when you do this, it will increase traffic from Instagram. Number 42. Is this me?
All right. This is me, I think.
Okay.
We love accessibility. We recommend you run a website accessibility check. Accessibility is a huge topic. If this presentation were taking place at the conference where it was supposed to be taking place, there would have been many presentations on accessibility. But in large part, accessibility is about instituting many small changes over time, and it is a great place to really hold on to that progress over perfection mantra. So WCAG is an acronym that I'm suddenly blanking on, but they're the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines put out by the World Wide Web Consortium. And this organization called Webbing runs a tool that you can just plug in your website, and they will give you the things you're doing right and the things that you could use improvement on. So I ran a website I managed through this, and I have some work to do here. All of those little red dots and orange dots are things I need to work on. They also have a Chrome extension that you can install. Chris was talking about those before, to check websites on the fly as you're going through them. Next one. All right, number 43, also on accessibility. Try to interact with your website without using a mouse at all. There are folks that access your website using keyboard navigation tools only. So pull up your website, start in the address bar, and hit tab, and keep hitting it. Notice where you get stuck. Notice where you can't tell what you're on. I link an article here from the Nielsen Norman Group, which is a great group that does a lot of work around usability and also accessibility, that tells you exactly what you should be looking out for when you're trying to navigate through pages with a keyboard only.
There we go.
I think it's back to you, Chris.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I was in the chat room there. Number 44, caption your most important video. So what's the video on your website, on your homepage, your about page, your top landing page, your top converting page, maybe your donation form? What are the videos that you're using most? And can we ensure, not can we, ensure that they have captions? Captions are extremely important. We've talked about them for images. We've talked about them for accessibility. They're also important for video, because a lot of video, especially on social, but possibly on our website, isn't necessarily going to play with the sound on. And so captions can not only help people access the content who can't hear it, it can also access for audio issues, for impairment issues. It can also help people access the content who just can't based on where they are, in a library or somewhere without speakers. Number 45 is to run a website color checker. This is extremely important, both for color blindness, which is experienced by 1 in 10 males in the world, but it's also extremely important for people who just have visual impairments, which can make up anywhere between 10 and 20% of the population. And these are folks who may not just be entirely blind, but may just have difficulty seeing low contrasting colors when used together. And so we have an example here. You can already see how, like, the lower left low visibility example is harder to read than the high contrast of the black on yellow. And then you can see how the green on red just kind of almost creates this vibrating, moving look. And it's incredibly difficult to read, especially so for somebody who might be experiencing some type of color blindness. And so what you have here on the right is just an example of something we did at Glisten, taking our Glisten brand colors and running them through this web aim checker, actually, to find out how they would be seen possibly by people experiencing different forms of color blindness, which enabled us, like you see here in this right-hand example, number 2, to understand how certain colors in our scheme may not work well together when used on our website or in our graphics.
All right, this one is also quick. Require 2-factor authentication for website admins and editors that are logging in all the time. Make sure that people can use a phone or a keypass generator or an authentication app to get a secondary login. This is especially useful if you have a log staff, if you have distributed staff, or if you're sharing logins with contractors or folks who are remote. Why? This helps protect you from website hackers. Chris and I have both worked with organizations that have had websites hacked and then held for ransom. Protects constituent data if you have any of that in your website. Prevents you from spam and malware, from people taking over your whole site and just turning it into a spam site, which has happened to me and it's terrible. And also just staff mistakes, leaving a computer around, leaving a computer open, you know, these things happen. And also in that same vein, analyzing the roles and permissions. This is a basic WordPress user backend. Review who has admin powers here, or if you have more advanced permissions, who has access to those powers. Does anyone need to be changed around? Does anyone not work at the organization anymore? Or were they an intern and they're not there anymore? It's a security risk to have extra logins floating around. We just talked about the reasons why that was important. This also might be a good opportunity to send around an all-staff email and see if everyone's fine with their permissions, right? Are there permissions that people never use? Is there something that someone really needs to be doing that they haven't asked for permissions for? Make sure your permissions are on lock. And heat mapping. Heat maps are very cool. Heat maps are an umbrella term for a couple of different heat mapping tools, which are scroll maps, which kind of also measure what Chris was talking about before with scroll depth on the page via Google Tag Manager. Click maps and move maps, so where people are actually moving their mouse around on the screen. They generally look something like this. Folks really tend to focus on the top of the page and the left side, but they really provide an at-a-glance understanding of how people interact with the page. And two tools that we can recommend for heat mapping are Hotjar and Crazy Egg. These are external services that will plug into your website to generate the heat map.
Okay, number 49, set up a dashboard in Data Studio. So Data Studio is owned by Google. It's you can connect with Google Analytics, Google AdWords, other third-party systems out there that provide data, or just Google Sheets, where you can put any data you have from any system. So this is actually an example of a Facebook fundraising dashboard that I've been working on. And it's a new dashboard that we're actually coming out with a new program I'm going to talk a little bit more at the end of this session about, called Everyday Nonprofits. You can go ahead and sign up. I'll give it to you free. If you're actually interested in testing this out for me, I haven't published it publicly yet, as I'm still testing out some things. You can email me at the email down below. I'll give you access. You can use it, tell me what works, what doesn't. But basically, Google Data Studio allows you to create these really beautiful, customized, fully branded, fully editable, customized interactive reports that live on a web page that you can give your staff. You can embed in your website, like if you wanted to create an annual report with it. And it has a lot of uses. I love using it for external data like this with Facebook fundraisers, because I've never seen Facebook give me such beautiful information as this. Number 50 is plan an A/B split test. So Dominique mentioned A/B split testing. A/B split testing is just running a test to figure out whether A, including this image, or B, including this image, is going to work better in our ultimate goal of getting people to sign up, make a donation, clicking the link, scrolling on the web page, whatever it may be that we're tracking. Typically, you can test just about anything, but you'll want to test one thing at a time in an A/B split test to make sure you're understanding what works better. And you do have to have a significant number of data points or people using your website in order to know whether or not the test was successful. But we got some resources here as well on how to do that. 2 left, number 51.
All right, 2 left, we can do it. These are super techy, but they're also really easy. You can do them, I promise. Number 51 is to deploy a CDN. A CDN is a content delivery network, and what it does is reduce the loading time of your site by reducing the physical distance that the information of that the code of the site has to travel along wires, because it creates local servers that have a cached copy of the website that are closer to the end user's physical location. These used to be really expensive and complicated and difficult to bundle into a site, but often now they're included through your hosting and can be really inexpensive. I work with hosts that offer these for free out of the box. That host is pressable for WordPress sites, and I'm sure there are others as well. And the next one, the last one, minifying your code. So minifying your code removes white spaces and comments, and believe it or not, it's actually a factor in page loading speed. In WordPress, you can do this via plugins. It might be bundled with a caching plugin, so if you have one of those, check there first. If you don't have a caching plugin or you don't want to work with it, I recommend a plugin called Optimize. And then in Drupal, there's a setting under performance to aggregate and compress your CSS files. And you can use the minified Drupal module for other code files. And that'll help speed up your site a little bit.
You made it! 52 tweaks in 52 weeks. That's a lot of tweaks. It was a lot of work combining all these, and we were reminded of how much work it is to even do these and prepping these and trying to find ones that wouldn't be too overwhelming. But as we wrap up here, just a reminder, this was a session that was originally going to be presented at the Nonprofit Technology Conference, conference run by NTIN, a national organization supporting techies like us, working in and with nonprofits that are doing good in the world. That conference makes up a significant portion of that organization's budget, another nonprofit itself supporting our nonprofits. And so I ask, if you really liked this session, that you please consider making a gift, even $25. You can do that at tuttle.link/NTIN. We have a little fundraiser we just started from the New York City chapter of NTIN, in which this session is one of many that will be presented in the coming weeks. Also, do you want more? Do you need more? So I mentioned Everyday Nonprofits in that Facebook fundraising analyzer sheet that I shared for Data Studio, as well as I think I had it in another screenshot. So this is actually something I've been working on for several months now. It's a new online learning community. And because of what's happening in the world right now, we decided to give away tons of webinars and resources completely for free. We were supposed to launch a couple weeks ago, but like probably many of your organizations, we've had to pivot and completely change everything we're doing. And so we've created a free membership account that's going to be accessible to all of you and anybody else who wants access to this content. There's going to be another webinar where we're going to announce this new service, but also talk about why it's going to exist and how we're going to support you over the year with free content and then some other purchase plans if folks want it. But you can learn more about this and our thoughts on what's coming next with digital in this new era that we live in by joining this webinar. That'll be next week. This is next Tuesday at 1 p.m. We'll email this link out to all of you as well. This is a free webinar and free services that we're sharing. Finally,
all right.
Download. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You can download these at 52tweaks.org, and we're also going to have a drip campaign set up that will give you weekly email reminders. You'll get these in your inbox 1 tweak a week to keep it really accessible. This is our contact information down here below, our emails, Chris's Twitter. If you want to get in touch with any follow-up questions. And I'm happy to stick around and answer the couple questions that are left in the Q&A as well, if folks still have time. Yeah,
let's definitely do that. So let's go through a couple things. One that I saw in the chat room that didn't make it to the Q&A, and then Dominique, if you can do the Q&A for me. In the chat room, I noticed somebody asked me, Joe asked a question about my Facebook fundraiser analyzer and whether or not I had to pay for Facebook data connection with Google Data Studio. You can pay to do that if you want to have an automated connection. I created my Data Studio dashboard in a way that all you have to do is export your Excel file or CSV file from Facebook around your fundraisers, and then upload it to a Google Sheet and connect it to my dashboard, and it'll work completely for free. So you can just export that file once a month and then have monthly data and going back years on it. Another question.
Couple questions. Yeah. Do you want from the chat or from the questions, Chris?
From the Q&A, because I'm looking at the chat, if you can look at the Q&A.
Yeah, so there was one question that I actually answered in the Q&A, but I want to bring it up so everyone sees it. Will asked, do you have any recommendations on how much information goes on a homepage? I'm not sure if mobile phones are to blame, but it seems like they're so super long and have so much information on them. Isn't that what subpages are for? I personally agree with you. I think it's a great question. I think mobile responsiveness has something to do with it here, as well as also just competing internal interests about what has to be on a homepage. I think it's worthwhile to remind folks that the homepage is only one path to content on your site. And I think this is also worth A/B testing and heat mapping and scroll depth testing. Are folks getting down that far on the page? Is it worthwhile to have it there? It's always the most useful thing is to have data in your back pocket to back up a choice you want to make, I think. And then we've also got open questions. Have we found that people are less engaged with AMP pages? I don't have data on it. I would imagine they are. I would think it would be a great place for internal links, because those are going to show up in the content.
Can I follow up with that and also just say that even if that's true, which I also suspect there is some slight less engagement on AMP pages, but even if that's true, not doing it will impact our ability to show up in search results, which doesn't mean that people people will get our actual page because we don't have an AMP page, it means we may not show up at all in the search results, or at least not high enough in the search results, and therefore lose the visit entirely. So I think it's also, oh, the dog's here, somebody outside. I think it's also about balancing that that need between like being seen, getting your brand out there, being an expert on your issue, and also providing opportunities for people to stay engaged. Was there another question?
Yeah, there's a few more. So is there a WordPress plugin for A/B tests on website elements? I do not have a specific one in my back pocket, but I am 100% positive that they exist.
There is. I searched a few of them and I hadn't used any myself, so I didn't want to recommend them in this presentation. But yes, there are several. If you just Google, a lot of them have 4- and 5-star ratings in the WordPress plugin directory, which leads me to believe they're pretty well tested.
Yeah, I've got another question about accessibility, switching from reCAPTCHA version 2 to reCAPTCHA version 3 to improve accessibility. Not sure if you have any experience or success you can share. I have not moved through that yet. Chris, have you?
I'm sorry, the dogs. What? Say that one time.
reCAPTCHA version 2 to reCAPTCHA version 3. Do you have any experience switching over from one to the other?
I haven't recently. Every time we're installing, we use whatever's the most current at the time. It shouldn't. I mean, switching from one shouldn't be any harder than just reinstalling uninstalling the new one, or updating if you have a plugin doing it, or reinstalling a new one. They work fairly similarly. So
and then Andy also has a question. Yes, what was that?
I was gonna say, we also have one question here in the chat room around Wikipedia, and saying an organization was having trouble updating their own Wikipedia page. Is it easy to do? Can an employee do it? Does it require outside sourcing for all updates? So the short answer is it actually is really easy to do, and you can do it either with a logged in account or you can do it anonymously. You're not supposed to update your own pages technically as an organization, but people with their individual personal accounts can definitely update those pages. Whether that's somebody on staff even, or a volunteer, or a board member. Things are supposed to be sourced when you're giving factual information. A lot of times that source can be the website. If the website says something, you can source the website, and the website's probably already linked in the Wikipedia. Otherwise, you might have to quote a news article where somebody said something that you're putting into the Wikipedia article.
Totally. And Andy has one more question in the Q&A. If possible, do you have any recommendations for live streaming? Vimeo Live doesn't allow for embeds on WordPress.com. Chris has a lot of experience with live streaming.
Yeah, there's a lot of options out there. It can be a little complicated. So one option, if you can afford the money, is something like Zoom or GoToMeeting. Zoom, GoToMeeting, all of these webinar services can also live stream. And so from Zoom, I can live stream what we're watching right now to a Facebook page, a Facebook group, multiple Facebook pages actually at the same time, if I have admin access and cross-posting permission. I can also do it to YouTube as well. And so from that, you can share the link from YouTube to Twitter or anywhere else you'd want. The other service that I often use a lot for live streaming when I was doing it more at an offline in-person events was using something called Mevo, which is a portable camera that costs like $150 and uses wireless. You operate it via your iPad or tablet or your phone, and it can then wirelessly live stream to Facebook, YouTube, or you can get a live stream account to do multiple channel live streams. Okay, I think that's it. Awesome. Y'all have been amazing. Thank you so much. If you have more questions about this, email us, tweet us, talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Dominique,
thank you so much.
You're a blessing. Thank you so much.
You're a blessing. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Will, Danica, Danielle, Stephen, Christina, Sarah, Andy. Y'all are awesome. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.